What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moments Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, are Callum Wiggins
Call that spot.
and Robert DeFelice.
21 Savage, is that you? Spot! Come here, Spot!
I thought you were going to go, on the card. Technically, that's the official name for all this, but it's just so much easier to just say call the spot. But yes, call the spot on the card. That is what we were doing for this edition. We are going to do 2 videos on YouTube, but only one iTunes and Stitcher feed. So keep that in mind when it comes to that. The target for this is we're going to do what we do typically every single year. It seems to be that there's like 3 main call the spot things, which are the Money in the Bank, the Survivor Series teams, and the Elimination Chamber. And of course, because Elimination Chamber is coming up, we've got 2 sets of that. We got the men's Elimination Chamber match, and then we have the women's Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber match. So we're doing the men's first, then we're going off to the women's tag teams. And the way that this works, a little breakdown here, is normally it's based off of a set of 5. That's how Call the Spot originally was, but WWE keeps changing things up, so I've had to keep adding extra categories. And the breakdown when it comes to the men's is going to be a slightly different from the women's tag teams. But the men's wise, this is kind of like a marry, fuck, kill sort of ranking. Like, you have to put somebody in each particular category. You can't double up on anything and leave something astray. And you need to rank these people based off of from top to bottom. You've got the very top is the Hall of Fame, then the main event, the upper mid-card, the jobber spot, and then eventually just released. So, again, we're going to tell you a slightly different ruling when it comes to the women's tag teams, but we're starting off with the men's here. And the men that are competing for the WWE Championship at Elimination Chamber, and we're recording this, by the way, before SmackDown, so maybe something changes, but at least when we're going by these, are going to be in alphabetical order: AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Jeff Hardy, Mustafa Ali, Randy Orton, and Samoa Joe. Alright, all that stuff's out of the way. Now we can start diving into our lists. Starting at the bottom with the released option. And I had trouble with both my lists. The men's, I felt really like, damn it, I don't want to release anybody. But when push came to shove, I figured, you know what, I think I would release Jeff Hardy. Let's go around the horn here and give our names before we start giving the explanations. What do you guys have?
Well, I released Samoa Joe.
This was fun because it was probably the most difficult thing because there's 2 of my absolute headaches in wrestling, in Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton. But I thought Randy Orton's not a good job for anybody, so I put him as my release.
All right, well, we're already starting off with a completely different set of the options here. My rationality for Jeff Hardy was, at this point in his career, he's probably not going to do anything else. He's not going to be a world champion, most likely. I doubt that they're going to really push him to be somebody who's challenging for the world title at WrestleMania or, anything that would really demand him to still be wrestling. And even though, looking at this list, I mean, Jeff Hardy's a guy that's a future Hall of Famer anyway, but only one person could get the Hall of Fame spot. And if I were to release anybody else, I would feel like they still had something left to give. And Jeff, I kind of feel like he could retire and down the line he'd go into the Hall of Fame thing. But if he's gone, it sucks. I don't want him to lose a spot on the roster. But it's more of, you can rest up and not bang up your body anymore, as opposed to like, you're fired and you can, don't come back here again, asshole, like something like that. How are you guys picking Joe and Orton?
Well, with Joe, my rationale was simple. He could have fit into any slot on this list, but with all of the hype around people leaving, I see him very much as a Dean Ambrose, where he's a big name, but they're not doing anything stellar with him, so just release him and let him either go to the Indies or Japan, or, just retire completely. But he should be released because they're not utilizing his potential.
The Orton one was pretty straightforward. It was essentially there's two people on this list that are too old, don't really add too much value, at least from my perspective, and aren't really that fun to watch anymore. The difference being Jeff Hardy will at least throw himself off stuff every now and again, and that's entertaining. So, from my own say displeasure. Whereas Randy Orton, because I was even going to put him into my release job because I'm sick and tired of Randy Orton being around. He's very stale. He's obviously, everyone says he's very good technically and he has all the fundamentals, but he's so fucking boring and he just puts on headlocks for like 50% of the matches that he's in. And I kept out being the jobber because I don't think he'd be a very good jobber. Because essentially his entire career, he's been a mid-carder or above. He's never had to do extended job periods. So I don't think he's actually that inclined for making people look good. At least for Jeff Hardy, for the starting portion of his career, he was doing jobs on like Raw for years and years. So he knows how to make someone look good in defeat.
One job that he's really good at is opening up a door at King of the Ring. We know that.
He had to carry Mabel, dude. That sucks.
I don't think anybody could have carried Mabel. He was too big.
But yeah, Randy Orton's just a move at this point. One move. It's a very good move, but I've seen enough of that move that I can move on from Randy Orton.
Well, then let's continue with what you were going with here, because then that means Jeff Hardy's your jobber, right?
Absolutely.
Now, my jobber, and I hate to say it, but it's just a matter of more important people on the roster. I put Mustafa Ali as my jobber, and that's really sad.
Yeah, same. I mean, I love Mustafa Ali, but looking at this list, he seemed obvious for that slot.
And I think the reasoning why is just because he hasn't established himself more. And I mean, if you give me the tools to push people and to do different things, and I'm not constrained to this, like, you know, the call the spot kind of ranking, Mustafa Ali is a guy that I want to be the United States champion by the end of the year. I would really, really love to see him fighting for the United States Championship at WrestleMania, potentially even win the United States Championship then. And I think that he's got a lot of upsides to him that I'm a really big fan of him. But when you've got AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton and Samoa Joe, and it's like, I can't really job any of them out in good conscience. Is that kind of how you're feeling, Rob?
Yeah, that's definitely how I'm feeling, because Mustafa Ali, he came on strong, but he was also a 205 Live guy. He did lose on the pre-show of last year's WrestleMania. Nobody else on this card can really say anything like that. So yeah, I went with Ali.
Then Callum, are you going with Hardy because it's just he can do some kind of a spot and lose?
It's just that there's a lot of factors. He's past his prime, so he's on the downward trend. He's still popular enough that he could be a good jobber. He could still get empathy from the fans, but lose more often than not. And yeah, it's just a case of you have to occasionally look to the future. I know that's very anti-WWE, but you do have to, and I see the four other people, even though some of them are very close in age to Jeff Hardy, having a bit more staying power. And yeah, I feel it's time that Jeff Hardy not so much give back, because it's not like he's ever been a selfish performer by any stretch of the imagination, but he doesn't need to be a world champion ever again, or even a mid-card champion ever again. He could just ride on the wave of his own popularity.
Jobber to the stars, kind of.
Exactly.
He'd probably crash on something if he was riding that wave. Also, Jeff is definitely the most qualified for the job, you know? He had a lot of experience jobbing in the 90s.
And he's a guy who's popular enough that if he lost, people would still give him the benefit of the doubt to try again. So I can understand rationality behind that. Mid-Carter, and this is where it's like, God, just none of this gets any easier in my mind. And people are going to hate me for it, but I put Daniel Bryan in the spot.
I put Jeff Hardy in the spot.
Mustafa Ali. It's very different, this edition.
Yeah, we really are.
My rationality for Daniel Bryan was, even though he's the type of guy that Clearly, he's going into the Hall of Fame. Clearly, he can be the main guy that you focus on and all that. If you were to show me all the people that were still left on the list that I have and say which one is going to believably win the next match, the size factor does come into play. And I think that Bryan is popular enough again that if he were in the mid-card, he would elevate the mid-card as opposed to making him seem like he's a loser. It would be more so Bryan is that Intercontinental United States level, kind of the same regard that they had him for that one WrestleMania after he had been injured. Still sucks, because I want Daniel Bryan to be a main eventer, Hall of Famer, you know. But that's the name of the game.
Yeah, with me, with Jeff Hardy, similar to Callum, but I feel like Jeff Hardy is still big enough of a star to where people love him. He still gets crazy pops. You know, believe it or not, chicks are still into him. You know, he still gets all the screaming girls, even though they've gone from, you know, teenagers to middle-aged. And I just think Jeff Hardy can still be a U.S. champion or an IC champion, and it'd be believable.
See, I think the mid-card is the perfect position for Ali at his current level of ability. And it's not in the sense that he's bad. He's never been bad. He's very, very good. But he doesn't have the seasoning of someone like a Daniel Bryan or an AJ Styles or a Samoa Joe. He's still young. He's still hungry. This is the time where he's going to be putting on the matches that make people think, oh, this guy could be a main eventer at one point, or this guy could really stand out. He needs to be fighting for the mid-card championships. He needs to be putting in like gutsy standout performances against the likes of the top guys, the main eventers, but come up short every now and again and maybe occasionally get the odd surprise victory. And he's incredibly sympathetic. He's a fantastic babyface. Crowd are very much always behind him because of his backstory and the style that he presents as well, incredibly high flying. I think the mid-card is just where he needs to be right now, and I'd feel bad if he was just being jobbed out to people, despite the fact that all the other people are bigger names than him. I think I would like to see some progression and moving forward with the youngest guy on this list by a considerable margin.
Still good arguments. Let's go over to the upper mid-card. This is where I put Samoa Joe in there.
I have Daniel Bryan.
I have Samoa Joe as well.
So let's go with the Samoa Joe one then, because you and I have very different lists, but we ended up coming out to the same spot for that.
I'm sorry. I'm getting annoyed because you put Randy Orton so high, and it's really,
yeah.
And so Rob as well. So I'm getting really pissed off. Right, I'm getting low key triggered right now.
You're not gonna like how this list pans out then. With Samoa Joe, my point of view with it might be the same as yours, where it's like, I want the guy to be the world champion, but I know that they don't want to pull the trigger, so at least if he gets a good spot on like that secondary type of main event at WrestleMania, then that's still worth it. Kind of like sort of like the Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins type of match at WrestleMania, where it's not the main event, it's not for the title, but they went out of their way to make sure that they gave him a good match. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I understand. But my rationale is more along the lines of there's just two other guys that I think are deemed worthy of higher spots than Samoa Joe. And that's mainly just due to the way that he's been presented and the way that... Because on his day, Samoa Joe was the best wrestler, the best talker, the best overall performer on both brands. He just has that charisma, that aura about him. But they've never presented him that way. And you can only lose so many times before you start getting like henpecked into a could have been world champion as opposed to former world champion.
For context, the last time we did this, you had Joe in your Hall of Fame spot for Money in the Bank.
I did, or Callum?
Callum did.
Well, who was in that like Money in the Bank match?
I know me and Tony had the Miz in the Hall of Fame.
We'd say, yeah, there was the Miz, there was Braun Strowman, there was Kevin Owens and stuff like that. Samoa Joe has a much longer legacy than all of those people in terms of just outside of WWE and inside of WWE. When it's him against, at least in my mind, with the other two people, Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles, they're very, very similar backgrounds, and they all have considerable longevity, both in WWE. Well, actually, not so much WWE for Styles and Joe, but outside of it, and Daniel Bryan has a long indie background as well. So if they were in the Money in the Bank match, I probably wouldn't have put Samoa Joe in the Hall of Fame spot, but its context is key, Rob.
So
Right.
who was your upper mid-carder, Rob?
Mine is Daniel Bryan. Because in his current gimmick, in his current role, I can't see him being in the main event for too long. And even at that, he's in the SmackDown main event of WrestleMania. You know, last year it was AJ and Nakamura. The year before that, it was the very lackluster Randy Orton Bray Wyatt match. So it's not like he's in a featured role. He's just the top guy on SmackDown. And also, I think with the way they presented him before he turned heel, he was kind of in that upper mid-card role. And that might be his ceiling for now until they can move him over to Monday Night Raw.
So I have Randy Orton and AJ Styles left. Callum has AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, if I'm keeping track of this.
Yes.
And Rob, you have Randy Orton and
AJ
Styles. So I'm going to guess here what our... Well, I know what mine is, but I'm not going to guess mine. I'm going to say Callum has Daniel Bryan in the main event, AJ Styles in the Hall of Fame.
That's right.
I'm going to guess that Rob has Randy Orton in the Hall of Fame, AJ Styles in the main event.
Correct.
And that would be the same that I have. So, Callum, you're going to be annoyed about this, but we both have Randy Orton as Hall of Famer.
Well, I'm actually less annoyed than it would be if he was in the main event, because the main event means that he's actively competing in the main event.
And that's where I kind of went with a little bit of my distinction between why I picked Styles at the slightly lower level, because when you get to the top two with this, it's pretty much... I mean, there's always like a little bit of wiggle room, like upper mid-card. Well, does that mean that they are a world champion that doesn't have a 2-year title reign? Does main event mean that that's the only people who can win the title? Like, there's different things with that. So with main event and Hall of Fame, you could be a Hall of Famer who's in the main event, like a John Cena, or you could be a guy who's retired and in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of little, like, wiggle room with that kind of thing. But I kind of went with the idea of between Orton and Styles, if I were to see somebody wrestle in the main event of WrestleMania this year, I would rather it be AJ Styles than Randy Orton. And at the same time, if one of them were to leave and not wrestle anymore, Randy Orton's a 13-time world champion. Like, that fucker has to go to the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Is that kind of what you were thinking, Rob?
Yeah. So that is what I was thinking, because Randy Orton, whether Callum likes it or not, is in the Hall of Fame, and AJ Styles, it's the upper main event, not the upper main event, but the main eventer, because he's the best in the world. But Randy Orton's Randy Orton, Callum. I'm sorry, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, Jeff Hardy's Jeff Hardy. He'll go in the Hall of Fame. I'm just, only still released him. It's like every single one of these guys, with the exception of Mustafa Ali, is pretty much guaranteed to be in the Hall of Fame. It's just you can't really go by that sort of assumption. I don't go by that sort of terminology, just by the sense of there's 5 people in this match that will probably be in the Hall of Fame by the end of their careers. So,
and who knows, Mustafa Ali he might reach that level.
I put AJ Styles in the Hall of Fame because I'm kind of burnt out on AJ Styles, in the sense that I know how good he is, and he's one of the best in the world, but he's been on top for so long. He's had the same feuds for so long. He's been in pretty much the same matches for a very long time. Just to get to the point of, if he was to go in the Hall of Fame this year and retire and never wrestle again, I'd be upset about it, but I'd be much more willing to tolerate that than if Daniel Bryan said that he was retiring again and like going in the Hall of Fame. Because I look at the two of them, I think Daniel Bryan's the fresher of the two of them. He's the more like investable character at the moment. Styles is great between the bells, but the rest of his character is a little bit just, a guy. a guy that was champion for a very long time and he hasn't really had too much character development outside of that. Whereas Daniel Bryan is a main event player in my mind, both as a babyface and as a heel, as he's proven time and time again. Right now, he seems like the biggest star on SmackDown. Whether you agree with whether he should be a heel or not is up to your own interpretations, but he's carrying it like he's the top guy. And we've seen that as a babyface, he could be the biggest babyface in the entire company. So I see no problem with putting him in the main event position.
But AJ's like, he's that Bret Hart to me, where it's like he could easily be the biggest star the company has. They just never go with him fully. Like, they went with him for a year, yes, but again, on SmackDown, it's that caveat of you're the guy, but you're not the guy, because that's over on Raw with Brock Lesnar.
I go more of the assumption of a Bret Hart as you're the guy until the actual guy comes along. In the sense of you're the guy until we find Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then he's the guy.
And then we use you to put over the guy.
Exactly. So you're the guy because you're one of the best in the ring, and you are popular. People do enjoy your matches. They will buy your merchandise. But then this huge superstar who transcends all barriers will come along, and we won't need you anymore, or you'll definitely find yourself down the pecking order.
It's that meme of the guy who's walking down the street holding his girlfriend's hand, and he turns around to look at the other one and check her out.
Exactly. Like, who's the better wrestler out of Stone Cold and Bret Hart?
I mean, there's no question about it. It's Bret Hart.
Exactly. But Stone Cold's the bigger star.
Easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. Like, AJ Styles is one of the best wrestlers who's ever been in WWE. And I think Daniel Bryan fits into that barrier as well. But Daniel Bryan's the more relatable star, I think.
I'd make the same argument with Savage and Hogan. Savage is a better wrestler. Hogan's the bigger star.
Exactly.
Just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and I just see the two of them and think, okay, Daniel Bryan's the guy that will be your transcendent superstar for this era at least, and AJ Styles will be the guy that you can rely on to put the title on for a long time, have some really good matches, but will always be second fiddle almost.
So after going through this list, I could see myself, I'm not going to change my list, but I could see myself going under the rationality that kind of combines a little bit of what you guys had brought to the table, where I could see an argument for releasing Samoa Joe to give him a top spot at AEW and then bumping everybody else up, which would mean my list would be releasing Samoa Joe, Jobber Jeff Hardy, mid-card Mustafa Ali, upper mid-card Daniel Bryan, main event still the same, and Hall of Fame still the same. But I'm going to stick with my original one, which was Jeff Hardy as released, then Ali, and then higher up the ladder, Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton. And just to recap your lists again, Rob?
Me, it's Joe's getting released, Mustafa Ali is the jobber, Jeff Hardy is your mid-carder, Daniel Bryan's your upper mid-carder, AJ Styles is in the main event, and Randy Orton is a Hall of Famer.
And Callum?
My list is Randy Orton's getting released, Jeff Hardy is the jobber, Mustafa Ali's mid-card, Samoa Joe upper mid-card, Daniel Bryan main event, AJ Styles Hall of Fame.
Alrighty, everybody. Make sure you leave your comments below and tell us what your lists are and what you think about our rationality for our lists. Not going to really do a whole lot of extensive plugs here because we are going to do another section here for the women, and I want you to check that out. So click on that video and you will find out all the other kind of information that we have going on for this. But really quickly, just a reminder, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel and follow us all over the place. We got links below for the Twitter accounts. And if you start clicking on all of our stuff, you will find all the different things that we are taking care of, as well as the Patreon and all the other kind of stuff that I normally plug. You should probably know what it is by now, but if not, then you can pay attention to that on the next part. So part 2 is coming up next, unless you are on iTunes and Stitcher, and in which case it will just be popping up on its own. So stay tuned for that, everybody, and we will see you in that part. But for now, we're being counted out.